Hello, Like-Minded Men podcast listeners. It's Luke here with an exclusive interview with England's own Michael Bisping. So, Michael, how are you doing?
Michael Bisping, hello, this is me, best of British. You were there, weren't you? You saw the victory, saving the show. All those others, they couldn't stand the heat, but I was there and I saved the show. That Dan Hardy, he can go back to the bottom of the card because Michael Bisping is the number one in England.
Well, yes. Interesting to hear that, Michael. So, yes, you did have a win against Yoshihiro Akiyama, Japanese middleweight sensation. However, in the days following the UFC event, Akiyama actually made some quite controversial remarks. Have you heard of them at all?
I haven't heard his remarks, and I think he'd have a lot of trouble coming up with something which I had done wrong, because I had the perfect game plan in my fight, and I think that I showed him basically a clinic in mixed martial arts. Now, Akiyama, he might be very well respected across the waters, but here in England, we do mixed martial arts in a certain way, and I showed him that by kicking him and punching him a lot of times, but not too hard, I would be able to win the decision, which was exactly what I planned. Now, what's he been saying?
Okay, he has gone on record saying that although he only attempted 2 takedowns on you, with each takedown you felt somewhat slippery. So I think he might.
He has
some sort of greasing. Care to offer your comments on this, Mr. Bisping?
I am sick into my stomach that such a man, who I previously respected, would suggest such disgusting things about me. Me greasing, me with a Johnson's baby oil, me rubbing it into my skin in the locker room and then showering to remove all external evidence so that it might seep through my pores. I think Mr. Akiyama should take a close look at his own history of greasing before he sends an accusation in the way of Michael Bisping. Now, that's all I'm going to say. If he wants to say anything else, he can say it to my face. Next question, please, Luke.
Okay, Mr. Bisping. Okay, so this is your return to the O2 Arena after 3 years. 3 years after another controversial win, a decision win against Matt Hamill. Could you address, what people have been saying, people...
Now, I know exactly what you're going to say here. You're going to say there was a dodgy decision. You're going to say that some of the judges might have been swayed by the fact we're in England and wanted to give me a decision when I hadn't earned it. Well, I think I've been waiting for years to settle a score on this one. I think that if you go back and look at those tapes, Matt Hamill didn't do anything to me, and I was following my game plan once again very closely. In all of my matches, my game plan is always the same. I'm going to hit him a lot of times, not very hard, and I am going to win a decision. It's always my game plan, and I stick to it like anything. A couple of times someone's hit me, and the decision hasn't gone my way. But I say my game plan is still the strongest in the game, and Matt Hamill is just bitter that he came out on the wrong side of it.
Okay, so you mentioned your strategy being to go for the decision win. However, you have lost a couple of matches by decision in recent years, one to Wanderlei Silva and one to Rashad Evans. I must say, when I was in attendance at the O2, I was very surprised to hear in the pre-fight comments you referred to those 2 losses as bullshit decisions.
That's absolutely what they were. Yes, absolutely. Now, I know I can think like a judge, and I know that a judge, if they properly understand the game like a proper British fighter, then they know that what I'm doing is a quintessential technique which has been handed down, and I know exactly what I'm doing at every step. Now, these others, they have, it's, your Rashad Evanses, your Wanderlei Silvas, they know only one method of fighting, the American style, the Brazilian style, knock him out. Well, so far, certain judges who might be a little bit biased in their favour might think that unless you're trying to knock somebody out, you're not winning the fight. Well, they deserve to go down to Snake Pit in Wigan and find a little bit of the old Billy Robinson technique. He'll tell you that the way you win a fight, as I've always said, is to hit people a lot of times, not very hard.
Well, okay, Mr. Bisping, that is a very, very interesting viewpoint. So, yeah, moving away from this whole decision side of things, are there any middleweights on the horizon that you would be interested in fighting in, preferably someone of your own size, because as we know, Mr. Akiyama walks around at 187 pounds. So many people were saying that was actually an unfair fight, because in the octagon you appeared to have about a 25-pound weight advantage on him.
Now listen, Luke. I'm noticing a certain tone coming out about this. You've managed to get Michael Bisping, the #1 British fighter in UFC, on the phone, and you've shown him nothing but disrespect. You've started suggesting that some of his previous decision wins, bravely fought decision wins, were not exactly legitimate. You've been suggesting that some of my opponents have not been in my weight class, and that I've had a strength advantage over them. Well, I don't like where this is going, Mr. Luke. And I'm not going to play ball with you for very much longer. And now you see, I come from a long line of strong fighters. Everyone in my family is a fighter. My partner's a fighter. My daughter's a fighter. My son Callum is a kickboxer, K1 level, and a submission fighter, Abu Dhabi level. And if you're not careful, I'm going to send my own 11-year-old son, and he is going to have no trouble in wiping the floor with you, Luke. So this interview is over.
Okay, well, Mr. Bisping appears to have left us. Technical difficulties, I assume. But yes, I would like to thank Mr. Bisping for taking the time out of his very, very busy schedule to be interviewed by us. And yes, okay. Goodbye, listeners.